Hi everybody. So in today's video we're just going to learn about the idea of complex numbers and what the basics of it are. So probably at this stage we've already heard of things called real numbers, we've heard of natural numbers, we've heard of integers, etc. And rational numbers. So complex numbers is just a continuation of that. And a complex number is a combination of real numbers and a new type of numbers that we call imaginary numbers. So here's our definition. A complex number is a combination of a real number and an imaginary number. And it's important also to know that they're usually written in the form a plus b I. So they look pretty distinctive. An example of this might be 3 plus 4i. Now we've said they're a combination of a real number and an imaginary number. So the real number is the number by itself, and the imaginary number is the number in front of I. Let's have a look at another example now. 6 minus 7i. So think to yourself, which part of that number is real and which part is imaginary? And you can continue the video when you're ready with your answer. So if you guessed correctly, you would have guessed that 6 is the real part and minus 7 is the imaginary part. It's important to remember the minus sign here because that's part of the imaginary number. Probably the simplest way to remember this is just the imaginary part of the number is the part that goes in front of I. So that's really what it's there for. Now we'll have one more example before we move on. So this time we'll say 0 plus 3i. So think to yourself, what is the real part of that number and what is the imaginary part? If you guessed correctly, you would have said that 0 is the real part and 3 is the imaginary part. So I just gave this example to make it clear that either part can still be 0 in a complex number. And you'll also notice when we talked about these two complex numbers, the imaginary part was just 4, just minus 7, and just 3. We don't talk about the I when we're just describing the imaginary part. The I is just there to notify people when we're writing it down that that's imaginary. So by this point, you're probably wondering what an imaginary number is, because the name is pretty interesting. I will give you an example of that. So if you think about the square root of the number minus 1, the square root of the number minus 9, or the square root of the number minus 36, and put any of them into your calculator, you are likely to get something that says math error or something similar. What that means is that the calculator cannot find the square root of minus 1. So you might think that the square root of minus 1 would be minus 1 times minus 1. I understand why, but if you actually do out the calculation, well, 1 times 1 is 1, but a minus times a minus will give you a plus. So if you square minus 1, it actually just gives you plus 1. And the same thing could be said for the square root of minus 9, or the square root of minus 36. If we were to get minus 3 squared, which we think might maybe give us minus 9, then 3 times 3 would indeed give us 9, but minus by minus will give us a plus. So there is actually no number that gives you the square root of a negative number. So that's why we say that they're imaginary. Now, just because they're imaginary doesn't mean that they actually don't exist. It just means that they don't have a numerical value in the real number system. So when something isn't part of reality or a real number system, we call it imaginary. So they certainly do exist, and they certainly are useful for lots of different things. But we call them imaginary just because that's the opposite of a real number. Now, even though we can't solve out a real number, what we can do is find a way to simplify them. So there's a very well recognized standard set of notation for that. It's based around the square root of minus 1. So the square root of minus 1, we're now saying, is the letter I. So if we tried to get the square root of minus 9, we could break that up into the square root of 9 times the square root of minus 1. Now, if you're not sure what I'm doing there, I'm just going back to the indices chapter where we can split up any base number into two factors. So we can factorize minus 9 to being 9 times minus 1. And then just keep the same power, which in this case is a square root. Now we simplify the next line. So the square root of 9 is 3. And the square root of minus 1, we simplify to the symbol I. So the square root of minus 9 simplifies down to being 3i. And that's a much simpler way to write it. And also explains what 3i means when we see it in any of our complex number questions. So we'll look at another example now. One that we're just looking at actually. The square root of minus 36. I would like you to try and get it out into this kind of notation here. So see if you can factorize it first, like we did for minus 9, and then simplify each of the factors. So you can pause the video here and then just press play when you're ready to see the answer. Okay, when we factorize it out, our two factors are going to be the square root of 36 and the square root of minus 1. So the square root of 36 gives us 6, and the square root of minus 1 is an imaginary number, so we just say that's I. Again, it's always just the square root of minus 1 can be shown as I. So the square root of minus 36 simplifies down to being 6i. Okay, so the last concept we're going to look at here before looking at some sample questions is just the different powers that an imaginary number can have. So we'll go through it. Starting at I, square root of minus 1, to the power of 0. So any number, remember from our indices laws, to the power of 0 will just give us 1. I to the power of 1 will just be itself, which is I. Or if you want to put it as our normal notation from before we learned about imaginary numbers, we'd say that's the square root of minus 1. The next one is the most important. I squared. So that's going to be the square root of minus 1 squared. Now a square root and a square always cancel each other out when they're written like this. So we're just left with minus 1. Now I've mentioned that that's the most important one, so please do just remember that in particular. You'll see it being more useful when we get into multiplying complex numbers. Anytime that we see an I squared at that point, you'll know that I squared simplifies to minus 1. So it's important to remember. From here on now, the ones that we're going to see will come up less commonly, but they're still on the course, so we need to go through them. The next one is I cubed. So I cubed is going to be I squared multiplied by another I. So we know that I squared is minus 1. So minus 1 times I will just give us minus I. We can apply the same thing then for I to the power of 4. I to the power of 4 is going to be I cubed times I. I cubed we know is minus I. So minus I multiplied by I. Well, I times I is going to give us I squared, and minus times the plus is going to give us minus. Now we already know that I squared simplifies to minus 1, so it's going to be minus times minus 1 simplifies to plus 1. Like I said, these get a bit more complicated here, but they do not come up as often, so I wouldn't be stressing unduly about them, but just try and get them if you can. So at this point now we will start to see a pattern forming. So let's look at I to the power of 5. Well, that pattern makes things a little bit easier. So I to the power of 5 is going to be the previous one times I. So I to the power of 4 times I. I to the power of 4 we know is just 1. So 1 times I is I. I don't know if anybody spotted the pattern yet, but I will try and help you see. So our first one that we had was I to the power of 0. And the answer we got out for that was 1. Later on we see our answer for I to the power of 4 as being 1. The next one we got was I to the power of 1. And what we ended up with was just I, or square root of minus 1. So the answer we got then for the next one down here was also I. So maybe you could predict at this point what our answer for the next one will be, I to the power of 6. See if you can do that. Pause the video if you want. And then when you're ready to find out the next one, just press play. So I to the power of 6 is going to be I to the power of 5 multiplied by I. So I to the power of 5 we know already is I. So then we multiply that by I, and we end up getting I squared, or just minus 1. So you may have already noticed this pattern kind of repeats itself in a cycle. So our answer before was minus 1, and now it's down to minus 1. So it basically cycles through all those depending on what number the power is. So it goes from 1 to I to minus 1. Oh, that's a poor I. From minus 1 then it goes to minus I, and then the cycle starts again. So a good rule that you see in your textbook is to divide the power by 4, and then the remainder will tell you what the final answer will be. So an example here could be I to the power of 30. So if we divide 30 by 4, we get 7 with a remainder of 2. So I'll write this up here in brackets, 7 with a remainder of 2, because 7 times 4 is 28. So because the remainder is 2, we know that when we calculate out I to the power of 30, our answer will be minus 1. And again, we're just dividing by 4, looking at the remainder, and because the remainder was 2, that's where we get our answer from. Now, if I was studying for my Leaving Cert, this is not something I would spend a huge amount of time on, because it's not something I've seen come up very regularly. But again, if you're looking for the top marks, it is something you want to get around to learning eventually. I just appreciate it's hard and it doesn't come up very often, so I don't want people beating their head against the wall or feeling bad because they don't get it. Okay, so we're just going to look at 2 examples of questions that we might see, where we'll have to use our knowledge of complex numbers to solve them out. So the first example is going to be an equation. X squared plus 49 is equal to 0. Now, normally with an equation like this, we would try and get our x squared on one side and a regular number on the other side to see if we can solve it out. So if we bring 49 over, it becomes minus 49. Then to get x by itself, we're going to get the square root of minus 49. Now we find ourselves in a situation where we're trying to get the square root of a negative number. So we know that our answer is going to be imaginary. Now before we looked at a method that allowed us to write it in imaginary number notation. So what we're going to do first of all is factorize minus 49 to being the square root of 49 times the square root of minus 1. Again, both of these numbers multiply to give us minus 49, so that's where we're able to split it up into these 2 different square roots. The square root of 49 can now simplify to 7, and the square root of minus 1 simplifies to I. So our final answer for x there is x is equal to 7 times I, or 7 times the square root of minus 1. That's what that means. Okay, so the last question we're going to look at and try and simplify is this one here. Minus the square root of minus 36 minus 15. And we're being asked to identify the real and imaginary parts of this expression. So beforehand, when we were trying to identify the real and imaginary parts of an expression, what we did was we wrote it in the form a plus bi. And then the a number was the real part, and the b part, the part in front of I, is the imaginary part. So let's try and rewrite this to put it in the form a plus bi, like a complex number is normally written. So we have a real number over here, that's fine. And we don't need to do anything with that really, but this is obviously imaginary, so we need to try and write it out in a way that looks more like the a plus bi standard notation. So our minus 36, if we break it up, let's just put a bracket around it first of all. Minus 36 can be broken up as being the square root of 36 times the square root of minus 1. And minus 15 will just say the same there. Now we've broken up the square root of minus 36, but there's still a minus outside that. So we'll deal with the outside minus later. We're just trying to simplify this here first of all. So the square root of 36 then is 6, and the square root of minus 1 we write as I. Now there's still a minus outside it. Like we said earlier, we deal with that after we finish simplifying it. So minus 6i we can actually just write as minus 6i. So we're multiplying it by a minus. And a minus times a plus is a minus. Then we're going to have minus 15 at the end. Normally write it as a plus bi, the real number plus the imaginary number. So we'll just rearrange the order here. We'll have the real number first, minus 15. Minus 6i then, the imaginary number second. Like I mentioned at the start, this normal form is a plus bi. So the real plus the imaginary. The real is written first, imaginary second. So the real number here is minus 15. The imaginary part of the number is minus 6.